So I just want to welcome everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to the presentation, Picture Books with Purpose. We're really excited to spend some time talking about picture books and the powerful role that they play in helping children explore big ideas. They may be small in format, but as you already know, their impact in libraries is anything but small. I'm pleased to introduce Nickole Greening, our children's NYA specialist here at Whitehots. Nickole brings over 12 years of experience working with children's literature and has a real talent for identifying titles that resonate with young readers while supporting literacy growth. She worked closely with collections every day and has an incredible eye for picture books that truly stand out. Today, she's going to share practical ideas and insights on how to use picture books with intention, whether in storytime programming or everyday interactions with children and families. Nickole, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tanya. Hello to everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm so glad to be here to talk about one of my favorite things, picture books. We all know kids love stories, but the right story can do so much more than entertain. It can open the door to meaningful conversations and lasting connections. Today, we're going to look at how picture books can do just that and how libraries can use them to connect with families in simple, thoughtful ways. The best picture books may look small, but they do some pretty big work. This session is very practical. I'll share some standout title ideas for programming and a few ways to frame conversations for kids and caregivers. Whether you're leading story time, building a collection, or wearing all the hats, and even in a small library, I hope you'll walk away with something you can use right away. And please feel free to use the chat as we go. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and we'll make time for questions at the end. Picture books really act as mirrors, windows and doors. They reflect a child's own life, give them a glimpse into someone else's, and invite them to step into something new. That's why having a diverse collection matters so much. Yes, they build literacy, but they also help kids make sense of their world. Think about a book like The Invisible String, pictured on the screen here. It's a simple idea, but it opens big conversations. As librarians, you're not just offering books, you're creating experiences. And I still remember sitting on the library carpet and feeling that sense of wonder. And I'm sure many of you here have similar memories. For so many children, picture books are where they first start to see themselves as readers. That's where confidence begins. That's where the love of books start. So when I say purposeful, I don't mean preachy or didactic. They can be funny and silly and still elicit a strong response. It's about intentional choices and books that help spark thinking and conversation. Purposeful picture books let kids ask why. Why is this happening? How does that person feel? What can I do? They're a safe starting point for curiosity, empathy, and learning. And that's something libraries are uniquely positioned to nurture. You create those moments of discovery in a safe and welcoming space. We may not always in a moment realize just how impactful these moments many of you create can be to a child, and they can last years. No pressure at all to any of you. I want to take a moment to highlight a few key themes today that consistently lead to meaningful conversations with children. These are themes many of you are probably already working with, but seeing them intentionally through picture books can really amplify their impact. These are all social emotional literacy themes, emotional awareness, helping children manage feelings, books that encourage empathy, and those that celebrate inclusion and identity. Finally, the theme of comfort and healing. Some picture books are especially important because they offer reassurance during a difficult time or uncertain times. These stories help children feel safe and understood, whether they're navigating loss, change, or big emotions. They remind children that it's okay to feel what they're feeling and that they're not alone. Together, these themes help picture books do what they do best, create space for understanding and a feeling of connection. So the first set of books, the first theme, books that build emotional awareness. There are so many books that can illuminate and illustrate emotional awareness. I chose a few of my favorites. In Cranky Makes a Friend by Phuc Tran and illustrated by Pete Oswald, the author takes an emotion every child, and let's face it, adults experience the same thing, crankiness, and makes it playful by showing them it's normal and, more importantly, just temporary. The art helps the reader see what crankiness looks like and shows children that if Cranky can manage his emotions, they can too. The next book is I Am Yoga by Susan Verde and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. Anybody who knows me knows I love this series of books. I'm always talking about them. Most of the books in the I Am series speaks to social emotional awareness. Again, the pairing of the illustrations with the dialogue is spot on. The yoga poses in each spread are practical and easy and remind kids to breathe, rest, take it all in. These are some of my very favorite books. The Invisible String, Family Celebration by Patrice Karst and illustrated by Joanne Lou Vertoff, introduces the concrete metaphor of the invisible string that helps kids identify and talk about emotional connections, even when loved ones aren't physically present. This can strengthen empathy by illustrating how every family member experiences emotions differently, encouraging kids to recognize and respect others' feelings. It promotes emotional regulation by offering a comforting framework for children to use during moments of stress, separation, helping them soothe themselves and feel secure. And the next book in this theme is Thunder and the Noise Storm by Jeffrey Anslus, Sheza Anslus, illustrated by Joshua Mangashing Pawas Steckley. Thunder is a young boy who feels overwhelmed by the noise of everyday situations. It could be the bus ride on the way to school, his classmates chatting. And this book validates sensory overwhelm by showing how loud, chaotic environments can affect a child's body, their emotions, helping kids recognize their own stress signals. As Thunder takes a nature walk with his mosom, or grandfather, he learns to express what he's feeling and what he needs, giving children language to communicate discomfort or anxiety. Thunder's mosom teaches him to listen to nature and even in his own heartbeat to calm himself. And the next theme we'll chat about is kindness and empathy. These stories encourage children to think beyond themselves, consider how others might feel. They open the door to conversations about choices, compassion, and how small actions can make big differences. Libraries are wonderful spaces for these discussions because they're rooted in that shared experience. In Gracie Feeds the Birds by Jane Yolen and Peter Tacey, illustrated by Frances Ives, Gracie feeds the birds daily and thanks each of them, highlighting empathy and compassion as Gracie notices the needs of the birds around her. This demonstrates how paying attention to others' experiences can deepen understanding. This book will also help children recognize how small, consistent actions can soothe emotions and create a sense of inner calm. The very simplicity of this book is its true superpower. And the next book is The Rabbit Listened, written and illustrated by Corey Dorfield. In this sweetly illustrated book, we see little Taylor have something he built fall apart. I think we can all relate to that. His animal friends all come to offer their own reactions, but failing to see that sometimes just being close and listening to others' feelings with sensitivity rather than judgment is the way forward. Little Bunny sits close and stays silent, allowing Taylor to come to his own feelings, illustrating that empathy means staying close, being patient, and allowing others to share their emotions in their own time. In the book A Home for Margaret by Denise Davy and illustrated by Béranger Delaporte, Emma finds a homeless shelter in the woods. After her mother explains to Emma about being homeless, Emma wants to help by purchasing some warm clothes for the Lady Margaret in her shelter. This certainly is encouraging young readers to consider how their own actions can help others feel welcomed, valued, and seen through small actions that make a big difference. In the next book, Choose Kindness, written and illustrated by Canadian Ruth Ohi, Little Bunny doesn't want to get out of bed or start his day, but off he goes anyway, with small acts of kindness having a ripple effect amongst all his friends. This book really highlights the pay it forward effect and helps children recognize that even simple gestures can brighten someone's day. The next theme that we're going to talk about are books that celebrate inclusion and identity. Books that reflect different cultures, family structures, abilities, and identities help children feel seen and help others learn to appreciate differences. These conversations don't need to be complicated. Often it's as simple as noticing and celebrating what makes each character unique. In the book, The Big Umbrella by Amy June Bates and Juniper Bates, it shows that there is room for everyone. The umbrella is a warm and welcoming metaphor that helps children understand inclusion as something expansive rather than restrictive. The book does this by illustrating people of different sizes, shapes, abilities, and backgrounds, all finding shelter together, reinforcing that everyone deserves belonging. The book encourages acceptance, demonstrating that differences are not obstacles, reasons to widen the circle and make space for others. In All Are Welcome by Alexandra Penfold and illustrated by Suzanne Kaufman, the differences in this book are celebrated in every page. The illustrations show not just acceptance, but joyful happiness on each page. Each page celebrates diversity. The way the author shows just the joy and happiness of all the kids in the classroom is just beautiful. The book underlines that everyone has a place while still honoring what makes each person distinct. Within the refrain, all are welcome here on each spread. Say Something by Peter H. Reynolds. This book empowers every child to use their voice, reinforcing that they are and what they care about matters in creating a welcoming community. Saying something kind can have a snowball effect. There are many ways to speak out through literature, action, art, and style. Speaking out inspires others to do the same. The book highlights inclusion that begins with awareness and the courage to act. If someone is sitting all alone, sit next to them. Gestures speak volumes, and the community becomes richer and more inclusive. I have always loved the Peter H. Reynolds books, this one especially. Sometimes we just need a little gentle reminder to be courageous. Again, it should be mandatory, I think, personally, that all adults read at least one picture book a week. There, I think, should be a read a picture book week for adults only. I wholly endorse such an event. The last book in this theme is Our Class is a Family by Shannon Olson and illustrated by Sandy Sonke. This title looks at many kinds of family and asks what family looks like to them. There are many different kinds of family. One such type can exist in a classroom. The book shows a classroom where each student is valued, welcome, and seen as an important part of the community. The book celebrates individual strengths, helping children recognize that their unique identities contribute to the richness of the group. Our class as a family accentuates supportive relationships, illustrating how classmates can lift one another up, listen, and create a safe space where everyone feels accepted. And the last theme for this section, these are books that heal and comfort. Some picture books are especially important because they offer reassurance during difficult or uncertain times. These stories help children feel safe and understood, whether they're navigating loss, change, or big emotions. Remind kids that it's okay to feel what they're feeling and that they're not alone. This first title, Addie's Cup of Sugar, illustrated and written by John J. Muth. It explores the Buddhist story of healing. The illustrations are absolutely stunning. Honestly, some books live inside you, and for me, this is definitely one of them. Through Addie's journey to understand loss, the story shows that sadness is a natural part of loving someone, and that comfort can be found in community, compassion, and shared stories. Its warm illustrations and tender message help children feel less alone in their emotions, reminding them that healing doesn't mean forgetting, but carrying love forward in a new way. In this book, Molly's beloved kitten has died, and she wants her friend Stillwater to make a medicine to bring her back. He sends her out to collect a cup of sugar for the ingredients for the medicine. But that cup of sugar can only come from a family that has never experienced death. Molly realizes through her search that everyone has experienced death and feels less alone in her grief. The medicine Stillwater was making was for her. That story gets me every time. I remember that presentation with the sales rep from Scholastic, and I was crying like a baby, and it was a big thing. It took me a while to get over that one, but I actually have the book as one of my favorites. And the next book I'm going to talk about is the book Broken by X Fang. And so this is where a child faces difficult emotions when they break their Ama's cup. In the end, the child comes to realize that confessing wasn't so terrible after all, and they help Amma fix the cup. Now the cup has a special story. X Fang offers a quiet, compassionate space for children to explore difficult emotions. This is another tearjerker, but it's also beautifully done. The Memory Tree by Britta Teckentrup. This book presents an uplifting way for children to process loss and find comfort in remembrance. As a forest remembers their loving friend Fox, a tree begins to grow. Through this metaphor of a tree growing from shared memories, the story shows that love continues even after someone is gone. Its soothing tone and illustrations will help children feel safe exploring their grief, while reminding them that healing comes from connection, storytelling, and keeping memories close. In Ruby Finds a Worry by Tom Percival, this is a comforting and empowering message for children who experience anxiety. So through Ruby's journey, the book gently shows that worries grow bigger and bigger and heavier when kept inside and not spoken about. And as soon as you start to share them, those worries get lighter. Its warm illustrations and reassuring tone help children feel seen and understood, reminding them that everyone has worries and that talking about them is a brave and healing step towards feeling better. So those are the four themes that I wanted to discuss with you today. The next part, we're going to talk about story time with purpose. Story times can be fun and meaningful. Those two things don't compete with each other. Some of the most impactful story times are the ones where children are laughing and moving, but also thinking. When you're choosing read alouds, look for books that naturally invite participation. That might be a story with strong emotions, repeated phrases, clear cause and effect, or moments where kids can predict what happens next. Books that prompt movement, sound effects, or facial expressions work really well too. Anything with a metafiction element is always a winner. Open-ended questions are key here. Simple prompts like, how do you think the character feels? Or what would you do? Invite children into the story without putting them on the spot or expecting a right answer. Even a few nods or raised hands, I think, count as engagement. Adding elements like songs and puppets or simple props helps keep energy up and gives children different ways to participate. Especially helpful for kids who may not want to speak but still want to engage. And most importantly, the goal of a purposeful story time isn't to teach a lesson or deliver a message. It's to spark curiosity and conversation between children and between their caregivers. But hey, if they learn something along the way, there's nothing wrong with that either. Some of my go-to books for meaningful story times, I know all of you have your story time favorites, and I just chose a few here as examples of the ones that I really like. And so the first one here is The Year We Learned to Fly by Jacqueline Woodson and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. So this book follows a brother and sister who learn from their grandmother how to use their imaginations so that they could, and I quote from the book, you can dream a thing and make it happen. Using the book's theme of imagination is an invitation for kids to share their own take flight dreams, pausing to ask what helps them feel brave or calm or creative. Encourage participation by turning the book's poetic refrains into call and response, inviting children to repeat key lines, for example, that was the summer we learned to fly. Or mimic the characters' movements as they lift your arms and close your eyes, because that's what Grandma would tell them every time. You can encourage children to draw or describe a time they use their imagination to solve a problem, helping them link the story's message to their own lives and to one another. There is a Monster in Your Book by Tom Fletcher and illustrated by Greg Abbott. Well, kids will love the metafiction elements in this book as the author engages the children, and it's so much fun for everyone. The author tries everything to get the monster out of the book. You can invite the kids to shake, tickle, or tilt along with the story, building instant participation and making them feel like they're truly helping move the monster through the pages. This will result in belly laughs from the kids as well. Use the monster's playful mischief as a way to encourage conversation, pausing to ask children what they think the monster will do next, or how they might calm an excited monster themselves. This would encourage prediction and empathy. Our next book is The Good Egg by Jory John and illustrated by Pete Oswald. The Good Egg was always so good and felt responsible for everyone's actions. Eventually, his shell started to crack from all the stress. I think we've all been the good egg at some point. If we listen to The Good Egg, we should all go and treat ourselves to a spa outing. I'm just saying that. Using The Good Egg's stress and improvement journey to spark conversation, inviting kids to share moments when they felt pressure for being perfect. This can really open the door to connecting with kids and having emotional awareness at a very basic level. You can encourage participation by spotlighting the lively cast of the bad eggs, pausing to let children predict what happens next, creating lighthearted fun and anticipation and a sense of play. If You Happen to Have a Dinosaur by Linda Bailey and illustrated by Colin Jack. This book overflows with dinosaurs doing all kinds of chores, from mowing lawns, digging gardens, and being snowplows, to name but a few. Working with the book's silly what-if scenarios by pausing to let kids imagine their own dinosaur helpers, inviting them to shout out ideas, make sound effects, or act out how a dinosaur might help them with everyday tasks will keep the kids engaged and participating, asking the children to chime in with their favorite dinosaur jobs and what they would like a dinosaur to help them out with. This keeps them thinking creatively. And this last picture book for meaningful story times is The Darkest Dark by Chris Hadfield and illustrated by Eric and Terry Fan. The illustrations alone have a truly special quality to them, encouraging creativity. This book can invite kids to share moments when the dark felt scary and would help them feel safe and normalizing these big feelings. By pausing during reading the nighttime scenes and asking children to imagine the sounds, shadows, or shapes they might notice in the dark, and then guiding them to look again, just like Chris does, helping them engage with the story through curiosity rather than fear. Now that we've looked at some story time ideas, let's shift into programming. Purposeful programming really doesn't have to be complicated. Some of the best programs start with one strong picture book and a clear theme, and then build from there. When you start with a theme, the book becomes the jumping off point. Kids listen, but they also create, talk, move, and connect the story to their own world. That's what makes theme programming work. When children see an idea in a story and then experience it in an activity, it sticks. It never feels like a lesson. It just feels natural. Themes also make it easier to spotlight different kinds of books that support the same idea. It's a simple way to show the depth of your collection and bring forward titles that might not always make it into story time. And the best part is how flexible it is. You can scale it up or keep it simple. Plus, it works in any size library. So let's start with Kindness Week, which is often one of the easiest and most impactful themes to build around. The book we've chosen is When We Are Kind by Monique Grace Smith, illustrated by Nickole Greening. This is such a thoughtful book because it shows kindness as something intentional and reciprocal. It's not just about random acts. It highlights how kindness connects us and strengthens the community. The writing feels warm and reflective, and the illustrations add a strong sense of belonging and inclusivity, which makes the message feel authentic and accessible for children. As you can see on the slide, we've outlined two simple activities, a kindness wall and kindness cards. The kindness wall gives children a shared space to reflect on how they show kindness or how they've experienced kindness. The kindness cards offer a simple way for them to express appreciation to someone in their lives. Both are easy to plan and flexible for different ages. Next, we have Earth Week. The book we've chosen is We Are Water Protectors by Carol Lindstrom, illustrated by Michaela Goad. This is such a powerful picture book because it introduces environmental stewardship through a story rather than facts. It connects caring for the earth with caring for community and future generations. The language is lyrical and memorable, and the illustrations are stunning, which makes it an immersive experience for children. Since Earth Day falls on Wednesday, April 22nd this year, that week gives you a natural anchor for the programming. As you can see on the slide, we've suggested two simple activities, a recycled art station and a One Thing I Can Do pledge. The recycled art station gives kids a hands-on way to think about reuse and sustainability. The pledge activity focuses on small, manageable actions they can take. Both are easy to set up and can run as drop-in activities throughout the week. The next is Feelings Week, which is always such a valuable theme to explore. The book we've chosen is Dr. Color Monster by Anna Lanas. This title works beautifully because it helps children see that emotions are something we can notice, name, and work through. It takes big feelings and makes them manageable. The visual approach is especially helpful because children can literally see the emotions represented in a way that feels safe and accessible. As you can see on the slide, we've suggested two activities, Feelings, Faces, and a Calm Corner. The Feelings Faces activity gives children a simple way to explore expression and connect emotions to facial cues. It's creative and low pressure, which works especially well for kids who may not want to talk but are happy to draw. The Calm Corner complements that by giving children a quiet space to pause. Whether they choose to color, sit, or just take a breath, it reinforces the idea that it's okay to step back when feelings feel big. Finally, we have Helping Hands Week, which shifts the focus from individual acts to the bigger picture of community. The books we've chosen is I Am We, A Book of Community by Suzanne Verde, illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. This is such a thoughtful title because it helps children see how communities are built through connection and shared responsibility. It gently reinforces the idea that everyone has a role to play and that we are stronger when we work together. The language is simple but reflective, and the illustrations give a warm and inclusive feel. As you can see on the slide, we've suggested 2 activities, a Helping Hands mural and a community helper matchup. The mural gives children a visual way to show how they contribute, and seeing all the hands together reinforces that helping takes many forms. The matchup activity introduces different community roles in a way that feels interactive and easy to understand. I want to wrap up by bringing this back to something simple. We've been talking about picture books that do more than fill shelf space. The purposeful ones we choose with intention, the ones that help children think, question, and see things a little differently. Then there are the books that really shine in story time. These are the ones that get kids talking, predicting, laughing, and joining in. You can feel the energy shift when you read them out loud. And finally, there are picture books that are strong enough to build a program around. One great story can easily turn into activities and conversations, even a full week of engagement. When we start thinking about picture books this way, it changes how we choose them and how we share them. And really, that's what this is all about. Being intentional, choosing books that matter, and creating moments that stay with kids long after the story ends. I want to thank all of you for joining us today for this webinar. I hope you can take away some ideas that will help your collections and programs. You're all on the front lines, so to speak. And I thank you all for everything you do daily to keep libraries a safe and inclusive spaces for all the kids that come into your doors.
Thank you, Nickole. That was very informative. Love that a lot. As you can see, we have a screen up that has Nickole's email address on it. You're more than welcome to send her some questions if you'd like. If you want to participate and you want to turn on your camera and turn on your microphone, we can do that, or you can ask questions through the chat. We would really like this to be more of an immersive part right now, so a sharing part. Tell us if there's anything that you've seen in your library that worked really well, if there's a book that you really loved, anything like that. So if you want to share, you can. If you want to ask a question, you can do that as well. While we're waiting a little bit, I was going to ask Nikki this question, and I think it's a question I'll ask, but it's really for all of you. So Nikki, is there a picture book right now that's on your radar that you're like, I absolutely love this picture book. Everybody needs it. Everybody has to have it. Is there something that you'd really like everybody, all of us to know about?
That's coming out in 2026?
Yeah, sure. That's coming out, or that you've seen, or I mean, you get to see previews that, most of us don't get to see. So anything like that you think, yeah, this is something everybody needs to have on their radar.
Well, a few standouts are Joel Sutherland has a picture book debut coming out in this spring, I believe. It's Joel Sutherland does this, the Scary Canada books, the Haunted Canada books.
Right.
So this picture book is going to be a lot of fun.
Okay, good.
Julia Donaldson has a new Gruffalo book, which
Gruffalo.
It's been a moment for those books. Kyle McClear, he's got a new book coming. Jeff Mack, the Bear Hair book, that looks like a lot of fun. Is going to be really silly.
If you're on our website, if you're on our hub, you'll see that one as the first book that comes out in the bestsellers in our spring.
The illustrations are a lot of fun in that book.
It does.
It'll make you smile. Melanie Watt has a book that's just come out, the 10 Shocking Facts About Capybaras, and it's really funny too.
Love Melanie Watt. She has to be one of my favorite authors. just to let you know, so that was already answered. Yes, we're going to be sending a list of all of the suggestions that Nikki has, because my goodness, we want you guys to be able to have these books in your library. And if you already have them there, then you get to use them in displays and programs, etc. Before we go on, does anybody have a question they would like to ask? Or is anybody interested in opening up, or even if it's not a question, do you have something you want to share? The library world is always the best for that. So Katie just said, one of my current favorites is The Trouble with Earth by Alex Latimer. So that's one that we will include in our cart as well, so that you guys can see that one too. Thank you, Katie, for the suggestion. I do have one other question. Does anybody else have any other questions for Nikki? I'll give it a second if anybody wants to open up their audio or their camera. No, looks like, oh, wait, no, maybe, yes, no. Oh, somebody has a question. Go ahead, Fasin.
Yeah, not a question, just something that I always share. I've had this book in my possession since 1999. It was actually the first book I've ever read to the kids when I started in the Timmins Public Library, and it's Moondogs by Daniel Kirk. And I read it to the kids all the time, and I tell them, this is the first book I've ever read. And when I tell them it's 27 years old, they just can't believe that I'm that old. That I still have it and it's in good condition. And we still have it in the library because I don't part with it, because it means a lot to me, because it was actually the first book I ever read in 1999. So, and it was a new book back then. So anyway, it's just something I wanted to share, how important these memories are, and how I keep the tradition going throughout the years.
That's amazing. Honestly, that's such a great story. I love that you still have that book.
Yeah, Nickole kind of touched on that when she mentioned that, we all remember sitting around, or if we don't remember it personally, I remember with my kids, right? How impactful story time was when you're sitting on the carpet and you're in that community of all the kids. Well, that's fun as well. Thank you, Catherine. And and then we have Michelle saying, just had a Valentine story time with the book Don't Push the Button, and the kids have a great time participating. Thank you, Michelle. We'll include that one too. Jack says, one of my favorites right now is The Wandering Feather by Lisa Frenette. So we will certainly include that one as well. I'm just looking here in my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. Oh, I wanted to mention, I don't know how many people, libraries do this, but I was just wondering if it's something that do you buy a collection of books that's just for story time? So they don't circulate. So Fasin, a little bit about, your book. So you're keeping that one close. I'm not sure if it circulates or not, but things that have pop-ups or things that have, that the kids can touch and things like that. If that's something that you guys are, interested, we could bring a list together of, because sometimes what happens is we're more careful with the books that we have in libraries that circulate, but perhaps story time books would be better. Fasin, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a huge collection that I keep in the library, especially for the baby program, because we do a lap sit program, and I read, we have 3 books throughout the half hour. And then we have songs and instruments and little finger puppets, but those I personally keep always, and it doesn't go out just because of the cleanliness. Right. We disinfect them afterwards. So that's important. If anybody is ever doing like a baby program, to think of that those books should not circulate just because the babies are touching the touch and feel books. Fiona Watt is one of my favorites for that, because she has all kinds of, is that my dinosaur? Is that my Santa? Is that my reindeer? The board books like that. And those are just amazing because they're all touch and feel on every page. And then I also have the pop-up books that I don't let go out neither, just because they get destroyed. So we don't really have pop-up books in the library because of that reason. You buy it within 2 checkouts, it comes back, and it's nobody's fault. But yeah, those are always fun for the
they're just not made to last through many circulations like that. Yeah.
So I just wanted to see what's going on in the chat here. So people are saying, yeah, most of them or some of them have storytime collections, which I think is great. If you want to share your list of storytime books, you can do that with us too. I will put my email address in the chat so everybody has my email address as well. And I have one last question for Nikki. So as a children and YA specialist, what do you look for when you're evaluating a picture book that you want, that knows, will have staying power inside of a collection? So is there something that you're looking for that the librarians here can use that, yeah, this is how I judge if a library book is going to have the staying power?
Yeah, well, firstly, I think not having the picture book be too wordy. I think if it needs to hold the attention to the targeted age group that we're purchasing it for. So not having it too wordy. I feel like as well, those picture books that last, if you're following the story, you can tell the story through the pictures.
Right.
So I think, a lot of the times parents are reading these picture books to the children, but it's for the kids looking at the book too. They should be able to kind of get a sense of what's going on just from the pictures.
True. Yes.
Illustrations are a big thing for me when I'm selecting, and something that's creative and that'll make me laugh or make me cry, or I'm very emotional.
The emotions, yeah, something, the books
really, something that will give you the feels for sure. I guess that's kind of what I'm looking at. Like nothing too wordy, some really great strong illustrations. Sometimes the most simplest books are the best ones. So, and I'm sure you guys all know that, like the simple ones can be very
powerful,
very strong in the end, and powerful. Yeah.
Nickole said, thank you, Nickole. This is a great list. As some of these authors are American, do you have suggested alternatives from Canadian authors for these different activities topics? We can look into that. Nikki and I can try to come up with a list of more Canadian focused books with those themes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can do that.
We can do that as well. So that'll be all included. So what we're going to do is at the end of this webinar, you'll get a link to the webinar so you can share it with colleagues if you want. And then you can take a look at what all the good things Nikki has said. And included will also be a link to a cart that you can look up at on our hub. That cart will have a whole bunch of different books. So it won't just be the ones that you saw on the webinar. For example, I think we were talking about how we wanted to put the whole, which series? I think there was a series, Nikki, that you said we wanted to include.
I am series.
Oh, the I am series. So we'll have all of those. Yeah. And then we have Jackie asking any suggestions for picture books for middle years or young adult students. So a picture book for young adults or
like the advanced picture books. Yeah, we can definitely put a cart like that together for sure.
Okay. So Jackie will do that for you as well, if that helps. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything? I think we're drawing to an end. Just wanted to say thank you so much. Thank you, Nickole. Thank you everyone for joining us. We really enjoy doing these webinars at Whitehots. Yes, we are all about books, but we're also about connections and bringing all of our communities together. Our community is your libraries. So watch out for more. We're trying to kind of do a bit of a series of webinars. Not sure whether French books. So which French books should be in a library? We'll go from anything from story time to young adult to adults. That'll be with myself. So you get to hear me talking some more. Lucky you guys. I will probably drag Nikki into that as well because the two of us work on French books together. So thank you, everybody. And we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you. Have a good one.